everyone. Welcome, one and all, to the Friday Forum. It is the 10th of January, and this is our first full forum. The last one was kind of a welcome back message, but it's great to have you guys here. It's great to be in a new year. This first week back, we really kind of opened up shop again on the 6th, so about 4 days ago, that Monday, and man, we are firing on all cylinders. Companies are putting up record numbers already. There's vast interest in the TEFL world. I guess the whole new year, new me thing really does still track out there. And whether you are listening to us from right here in our teacher's garden, whether you're listening to us via podcast streaming, things like that, or whether you're tuning into us via the YouTube channel, welcome. My name is Dave Rankin, of course. I am the president CEO of TEFLPros, and it's 2025. I'm excited. I'm exhausted, but I'm excited because, like I said, it just seems to be everything is going in the right direction. A lot of new ideas are coming up. A lot of new paths forward for TEFLPros. A lot of new students that are showing interest in not just taking a course, getting certified, but getting out there and seeing the world for what it is, going beyond your own backyard. It's really cool. And, I think I said we're only 10 days in, but I'm seeing a certain bravery out of a lot of people where it's no longer, I'm cautiously curious. These people are just, brazen. They are ready to get out there and they say whatever waits for me beyond the plane landing at that airport, I'm ready for it and I'm ready to take it head on. So I'm absorbing all that. I am loving those vibes because it reminds me of someone else from about, oh my God, coming up on 12 years in the Czech Republic I've been. And it's wonderful to be a part of that and to be a part of these people's journey as well. So of course, what did I do this week? I spent this time interacting. I spent this time talking to students, to graduates. We had 2 new graduates this week. So congratulations to them. And they didn't make the forum this week, but we'll be talking, and I'm sure they do enjoy the casts here. So, if you're listening right now, to either of you, congratulations on your course, and we're real excited on just launching you into the TEFL world. So this is a big one this week. This is for you guys. I had a lot of people who scheduled phone calls, and I've noticed a lot of people talking about the difference between, we talked more about jobs, careers, but they straight up talked about entrepreneurship, being your own boss, because I think that in the TEFL world, very different from the teaching world, where you go out, you get a job, and that's that. Someone pays you a paycheck. It's a little bit more gritty to be the TEFL teacher, because you are more or less assembling your schedule and putting it together and putting that to work for yourself. You are invoicing individuals. You're not thinking of monthly, yearly. You're thinking of what is my rate, and how do I get people to fall into this, to accept this rate, and also how am I going to grow myself to be able to increase that rate, things like that. There were a lot of questions this week for those who were thinking about coming over here to hang out with me in the Czech Republic, talking about the different type of visas. The main one that most people go for in the Czech Republic is the visa for the purpose of business. That's the visa I had when I came over here, and that's the visa that I predominantly deal with, and on a yearly basis, as opposed to what you would think is the more traditional route of school hires you, you work for school, school gives you money, end of transaction, right? Here it's a little bit different. The visa for the purpose of business essentially functions, if you're an American, like a 1099 tax status. If you are from another country, there's different, all the countries have it, but there's different numbers and different titles for it. The idea is that you are working for yourself. Your business is your own, and you are to nurture and develop it as your own, which some people are a little turned off by. Um, but myself personally, and a lot of my, my colleagues, a lot of my visa clients tend to be almost energized by, because while you are an employee, you know exactly what you're going to get. There's a certain safety in it. You know exactly what your salary is going to be. You can mold your life around that salary, maybe a couple holiday bonuses, paid summers off. No problem with that, right? That's all good. However, that's the top and the bottom, isn't it? There isn't much of a corporate ladder in the teaching world. You can become, department head. If you work in a country that has a union, you could, of course, the more years you're in, the more of a percentage you get. But as I frequently tell my clients, you will never open up a Fortune 500 magazine and find a teacher sitting on a yacht. Just doesn't happen. And that's all fine and dandy. They're good jobs to have. My mother was a teacher, and she loved it. She was great at it. Maybe that's where I kind of got the passion for it. I spent many days in her classroom, just watching her do what she does. It was cool. It was great. I spent, I said, 10 plus years as a high school teacher, taught through different high schools, got my paycheck. Great. Had fun, and enjoyed the hell out of my time there. Loved the students. Loved going to work every day. It was a challenge. It was fun. It was exhausting. It was everything rolled into one. And there's certain elements of that I really miss. But I kind of get to parlay that over into TEFLPros, which is awesome as well. Because here we are. I mean, this is kind of what, I used to host the seminars for my students. We would take a topic. I would put together a 90-minute presentation about it with activities and things like that. And so this is kind of like that. This is more of just the seminar part, but, minus the activities. But if you go into our Teacher's Garden, there's other activities. We'll be gearing stuff up, of course, as the year goes on. Lots of cool ideas. But our main topic I want to get into is getting away from that salary, from that paycheck. And we'll keep it subtly in the teacher realm, but this is kind of all expanding. And that is the concept of entrepreneurial spirit. The idea of being an entrepreneur, starting your own business, managing your own business, marketing your own business, the pros, the cons, the do's, the don'ts, things like that. And like I said, and I've said this before, I am not by any stretch a business tycoon. I'm not the one who's written a book on success in the business world. But I have been through a lot. I've perceived a lot. And I've had businesses that have been very successful. I have businesses that didn't last very long. And everything in between. So the idea I'm going to talk about is not necessarily like a how-to, because every business is different. When it comes to how to, there's rarely a script to follow. Uh, when it comes to entrepreneur, having a TEFL school is very different than having a visa agency, which is very different than having a law firm, which is very different than having a bakery. These are all very, the only thing that ties them together is, collective ownership as an entrepreneur, no more, no less. But we can talk briefly on the idea behind it, maybe destigmatize it, if you will. And if you come to Czech Republic, I mean, every third expat over here is an entrepreneur. You get to a point where it just makes sense to own something, just to do it yourself. The fact, there's nothing special about what I've done over here or it is just a natural, almost a natural order of things where you show up here as a trade license holder, which means you are already an independent contractor. Teach in English. Cool. Then you grow and you start teaching more, but then you try to increase your salary. You try to, you are networking, you are meeting new people, and everyone has new ideas. It's like it's a hot skittle over here with all the people are like the little water molecules dancing around. And what happens is people just start trying things. You have an idea, maybe someone next to you has an idea, maybe someone has an idea that just makes sense to you. I've seen some really cool ideas over here. Do all of them work? Of course not. Should all of them work? Of course not as well. But the cool thing is that over here, people are just not afraid to try stuff, which I think is the biggest element of entrepreneurship. Try it. Go into it. Go into it fully. Learn something from it. Don't necessarily, if you expect $1 million payout, it's probably not going to happen. No one I know who's done well with their businesses to a degree expected grand things of their business. It was the idea of, they say, we're going to start this, we're going to try it, it's something I know, it's something I can do, something that I can grow and develop myself. And we'll see how it happens. And we'll see what happens. Sorry. And it takes time. You have to, as an entrepreneur, you have to play a long game. You have to, stay in that market, and you have to grow in that market. And the only time you lose is when you stop. No more, no less. So you grow. You grow your product, you grow your brand. Maybe you change your product. Maybe you expand on what services you are offering. The business you have a year from now may not be the same thing that you have now. But the thing is, over here, people are not afraid to try it. They're not afraid to get their hands dirty, which is really, really cool. And it's really cool to see, because then you have all these little mini markets within themselves. You have myself, where I do visas and TEFLs and taxes and staffing, stuff like that. I have good friends who own restaurants. I had good friends who have apps. I have good friends who have their own teaching schools. And, at least over here, the big thing is I didn't even know half those people knew how to cook or had these, the networking skills to put these things together. But they did. They put it together. And I'm sure, and I hope, a lot of people would think that about me as well. I don't know if I really ever showed the qualities of being able to do what my team have done. So that's entrepreneurship. What is it? I mentioned this in a previous podcast. I think it was one of my ones with David, where I said, there's multiple ways to make a living, to collect money, I guess we'll say, right? We're all trying to do it one way or another. We're all trying to get by on something, grow ourselves, develop ourselves, and, carve out our place in the world. And most people, what they do is they grow up, study, learn a skill, and find someone who will compensate them for the ability to utilize that skill. That's called a job, right? I go to school, I learn how to do something, I start doing it, voila. And this is kind of a divergence to the jobs career topic I had before. So I'll kind of leave that at that. So you're collecting one salary from one person or one entity that pays your ways. Now the other decides I'm going to take a service, item, sale, thing, whatever, and I'm going to dole it out to lots of people for small sums of money on a per diem basis, right? Someone's gonna come up to me and say, "Hey, Dave, I need this," and I say, "Okay, I will facilitate that, and in return, you will compensate me what I feel to be a fair trade." Ta-da! And if you do that to the populace at large, to those around you, to those who need it, congratulations, you're an entrepreneur. You now have a business that you run, you yourself do. No more, no less. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be this deep, just genius aha thing. It can just be an action, a good or a service, retail actions. Find out what is needed. That's all there is to it. I have not invented a darn thing in my life. Simply put, I just help people along with procedures. And I make sure that they can get from point A to point B. I use my expertise, my connections, I'm very good at that, to help people get where they need to go. And that is where I've found my corner. That is where I've found my place in the market. So I turn it to you. What can you offer? Do you know what you can offer? Is it something that you know? Is it something that, you can do for someone or anyone, things like that? There's a lot to offer this world. I mean, that's where the teaching comes in. That's where the TEFL comes in, because, a very large portion of this world does not speak English, but would prefer to. So there's a market for that. The service industry is just providing services to people who otherwise wouldn't have it. I've been away from the United States for a long time now, about, I said 12 years. And I've noticed that a lot of people in the United States now are, doing what's it called? The DoorDash and it's not like anyone invented cars. It's not like anyone invented food, or even anyone invented delivering food to people. None of these, like DoorDash, it's a great idea. The concept of it is just food from anywhere being brought to you. Great. But someone just kind of put three separate ideas together and said, "Hey, let's marry these." And suddenly, boom, huge ecosystem, just around something as simple as what we would do with our buddies. My buddy would call me up, "Hey man, I'm at home, had a couple beers, I shouldn't be driving. You want to grab some Chinese food, bring it over, and we'll hang out." Yeah, cool. Congratulations, DoorDash, Grubhub, things like that. And it's a huge thing now. It's people doing it with food, people doing it with groceries, people doing it with prescriptions. It's, like I said, great idea, but you didn't have to invent a new element to bring this to the forefront. And it's something that could be that simple, and it doesn't have to be something that grand for you as an individual. you know what you need. You know what takes care of you. You have an idea of what your budget is. You have an idea of what you want your budget to be. So start calculating, start thinking about it, shake those cobwebs off. All right, sounds good. I need to make, or I would like to make $1,000 a week. Cool. Made $1,000 a week. So I want to do work 5 days a week. All right, sounds good. $200 a day. That's what you need. $200 a day. All right, so you're either going to perform a task. If you're working something hourly, like $200 a day. That's math. That just wall myself into that. All right, so yeah, $200 a day, 8 hours a day. If you want to do it like that, you do the math. You know the math. I'm drawing a blank right now, but it's Friday night, and oh man, I probably had 30 clients today, so a little fried, but you get the idea. You set your goal. How much do you want to make per week? How much do you want to work? And how do you make those numbers fit? Now, are you being paid for an hour of your time to do something, which like a job was an hourly salary, things like that? Or are you being paid for the task? Are you going to do something for someone that someone's going to pay $200 for, and you're going to do that 5 times a week? Are you going to do something that someone is going to pay $40 for? And are you going to do that 5 times a week? So, what? After I know that one. Yeah. Yeah. So $200, you're going to do that 5 times a week. $40, you're going to do that maybe 5 times a day. There it is. There's math. 5 times a day. So, that's what you want to be thinking about, is what is the value of the thing that you are doing? All right. We have our idea. Great. And by the way, to those of you who are teachers, those of you who are listening right now from our Teachers Garden, we were talking before, this is a great unit that can gobble up like 5 weeks worth of class. If you want to explore entrepreneurship with your students. You start out by giving them the overview, talk about entrepreneurs, maybe talk about famous entrepreneurs, inventions, things like that. You can do a vocabulary or a word list on inventions, idioms. Always great to end a vocab lesson with idioms because they're quirky, they're funny. And what I've done both. I've put the whole class together on a single project, which turns into a bit of a shit show when you have students who get sick and are missing, things like that. Or you put students in pairs and you have them develop an idea of a business, and you essentially turn your classroom into an episode of Shark Tank, which is awesome because then you help them develop it. You have them talk about growing it, marketing. You definitely could do marketing alone, you could eat up 2 to 3 weeks of classes with that. We're talking maybe 45 minutes to an hour per week. Talk about marketing strategies, and they put together their business plan and they pitch it to you, and you can, have some sort of fun reward system on, the best plan. Or if you're one of those no winner, no loser teachers, you can give them rewards, not for the best or the worst, but you can give them awards based on what their idea is. So like, you can use candy that is synonymous with their idea or some sort of fun, gift idea, things like that. It's a wonderful idea that gets your students thinking outside the box, because even if they do it once in a simulation of all things, they're corrupted, and they will be thinking about that moving forward. So what is it that you're offering? All right. So we've thought about it. You figured out what you can offer, something in your local municipality, something around you. Like I said, I know some people, they think so big. Sometimes it can be too big. I have some guys I was in business, I did some business with, they had an idea and they said, well, we're just going to launch this to the whole world. Like, all right, well, I guess you really can't have a net bigger than that unless you have potential, clients on Mars. But, you know, you grow. Find 3 or 4 people in your backyard who can use this service. When I started doing visas, my first like 3 or 4 clients were all at the bar I hung out at. And then I grew from there, and I busted my butt for them, and I made sure I got some good reviews from them. I had them say, what wonderful, even if it was some small, wonderful things about us. And then I grew from there. Then I used those referrals to kind of catch some slightly bigger fish. And suddenly, 4 people with all these reviews and whatnot turned into 6 people. Yeah, I said I'm not buying a house yet, but I said that to those 4 people into 6 people took maybe 2 months. 2 months to go from 4 to 6. So that was 10 people over the course of 2 months, 5 people per month. We're growing. Those people, those 6, they turned into 9. Suddenly I had growth of 2. Now I have a growth of 3. And you just keep on grinding. You keep on perfecting what you do. You may not have all of the pieces with your first client. It might be a little bit shaky. Shout out to my first client as a visa agent. He's still a good friend of mine. He was at my wedding. And man, he knows it now, but we were chopping that one together behind closed doors. But he's still here. He's still living in the Czech Republic and has been living here for coming up on 8 years. So we're still his visa agents. So, shout out to him. And I think it's hilarious that his first name is Adam. If you get the biblical implications. Anywho's, how do you grow? Well, you have your idea. Now you have to take your idea and you dress it up. Webpage, marketing, media, business cards, whatever it takes to get, wherever your people are, wherever the people who need your thing are. It's not always TikTok. It's not always social media. It literally can be signs, it can literally be, just word of mouth. It can be referrals. It can be affiliate programs, things like that. Hey, help me, refer someone to me and I'll give you 20% of the pool, things like that. Hey, you can advertise on social media, but between me, you and the wall, I think social media is on its way out. For good reason. I think it's become this marketing cesspool, which of course I'm a part of. But I think the social aspect of it is it's definitely not what it was from what I remember it being, 5-10 years ago and beyond. So you have your idea, you have your business, you maybe have a nice web page. You can register a domain for like $10, $15, and it's yours for a whole year. Dress it up, doll it up, use one of those, website designers, things like that. Print up some business cards. Business cards, I always refer to them as little paper boomerangs because I give them to one person, they come back with someone else. It's great for business, great for work. And it's great to meet new people. It's great to, expand your influence in your respective ecosystem. If you're an English teacher, if you've just passed your TEFL course, this is paramount because the more credit and the more legitimacy you build behind yourself as a brand, the more those around you will take you seriously as a brand, to the point where if you build yourself up well enough and put enough behind you, you will no longer be messaging schools looking for work. You're going to be messaging companies looking for clients. And that's the sweet spot. The schools, those are the middle guys. Those are the middle people. And they serve a very important place in the ecosystem. They do. But they are not the end all. They simply just take the role of the advertiser. They call the schools up, they call the companies up, they put their money and their funds into finding people who want to learn English. So by the time you call them, they can give you to them. However, and this is very, very big, and please, if you've made it this far, and you are in the English teaching ecosystem, keep this in mind, because this is how the business structure of these schools work. If you've never thought about it before, here's your first time. Once again, as an entrepreneur, you can read companies like a book, right? It's really easy. They charge a specific rate for you to learn English, right? So I am Bob the Builder. Am I going to get taken off? Am I going to get, taken off YouTube for this? But all right, I am Robert the Builder, and I need an English lesson, right? So I go online because I'm in a remote part of the world. I am in a place where maybe English teachers aren't very prominent. And I see a bunch of schools online. I see Preply, I see Lament, I see VipKid, I see NovaKid. I see all of these schools, and which one am I going to pick? All right. There's flashy web pages and whatnot. But if I'm living on a budget, I'm going to pick the cheapest one, right? If they say we have native English speakers, if they say we have people, certified teachers from the United States, from Canada, from, South Africa, Australia, wherever, cool. So now the school and I have engaged in a contract, all right? They say, we're going to give you X amount of lessons. You're going to pay us X amount of dollars. That is the fundamental transaction that builds the language school. That's their contract. They get 100% of that. So now they need someone who is going to teach these hours. And that's where you come in. They look long and hard for teachers. They post on social media. They send emails to people like me. They send emails far and wide to different TEFL schools and different groups saying, come one, come all. We need English teachers. Well, your salary is going to come out of that. And whatever that is, they already know what their percentages are. They know what they need to pay you to make sure that these lessons are lucrative to them. And when you have a business model like that, unless you have a very, very noble company, usually a company that is run and owned by fellow English teachers, where there is a certain level of what's the word I'm looking for? There's a certain level of pride, I guess is a word that you would use, a certain level of understanding of the plight of the English teacher. And those companies exist, and I work with a bunch of them. That's actually one of the standards that TEFLPros has with our affiliates, is they cannot offer junk pay. But if they're not one of them, they know that the less they pay you, the more they make. Simple as that. And language schools all around the world, it's the one common denominator in all of them is they get paid, they pay you. But remember, they're a company as well, and they need to fund themselves. So do take that into consideration. If you can, without being too invasive, find out how much they charge for a lesson. And, get a read on that. That's a great way to figure out how, you can make it work for your business. Or even better, like I said, even better, go directly to the source. This may not be the most kosher reference, but I always think of that movie American Gangster with Denzel Washington, where he, instead of buying drugs on the streets, he literally goes to Vietnam and just buys it, from the source. So the idea is, if you're an entrepreneur, which as an English teacher you are, or if you're an entrepreneur doing anything else, or thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, or thinking about having your own business, keep in mind, you need to understand the ecosystem that you are involving yourself in. You need to know, where is your money coming from? Where is it coming from? And how are they getting it? Are you taking it directly from the source? Is someone paying you to do something for them directly? Or are you working through an intermediary? Are you working through a middleman? You need to keep those things in mind when it comes to how you are going to grow your business. And I've seen very, very interesting people set themselves up in very interesting ways as middlemen. Here in Czech Republic, people actually hire other people to be Uber drivers on their behalf. And essentially they work as a dispatcher who takes the calls, sends other people to it, maybe gives them the car, gasses their car up for them, and takes a bit of their, it's wild. And I do love the entrepreneurial spirit over here, even though sometimes it can be a little grifty. It's still very much alive over here. And I said, if you are trying to break out from just a job, if you're just trying to break out from maybe not being qualified for anything big, if you are, you don't have college diploma, if you don't have, or a lot of skills or things like that are on paper, if maybe you have a criminal record that keeps you from certain markets and whatnot, don't think that that's a death sentence. It is not you are not condemned to poverty. It's more a matter of just finding small little ways to eke yourself out of it, to slowly grow and develop yourself. One of those big ones, of course, and this is what I found for myself, was the TEFL course in the TEFL world. That was my pick-me-up. That's it, just grabbed me and pulled me up out, and threw me into an ecosystem where there was plenty of work, where there was schools that wanted you and appreciated you for what you had and what you had to offer. And of course, as I taught, I also then suddenly had the ability to grow and develop myself as an entrepreneur, as a business person. And this, I said, the sad thing is, I've done so much. I've seen so many things. I've built, multiple businesses and companies that some have been successful, some haven't been, but man, the adventures tied with them have made it all worth it. We've opened bars and restaurants before. I launched an app back in 2018 because who wasn't making an app in 2018? They all had a certain adventurous element to them, and there's a lot of growth and personal development with that. And I'll be forever grateful for that and for the people I was involved with. So, like I said, if you made it this far, welcome to the back end of the forum today. I hope you're able to take something from it. Next week, I think I'm going to get more into the English teaching bit. I know that one's been a little lackluster for the last month or so. So I think I'll make it a little bit more English teaching and TEFL stuff oriented next week. But if you do have any questions about entrepreneurship, if you do have any questions about starting a business, if this is something that you're intrigued in, you want to talk more about it, feel free to send me a message, David at TEFLPros.com. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'm going to try and make some more content for you guys in the upcoming year, not just the Friday forums. I'm going to try. I have some other pretty cool ideas as well, and we'll see how those go over. So I thank you again for a wonderful 2024. I'm excited for 2025. You can hear my enthusiasm for it. And please take care of yourselves. If you want to check out our page, it's www.TEFLPros.com. We'd love to have you on the course if this is something you're thinking of. And as I said, if anything else is needed, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Dave. I'm the President and CEO of TEFLPros. Have a great week. Have an awesome weekend. And I hope it's not too cold where you are. It's a little chilly over here. And we'll catch you next Friday, all right? Cheers.